Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the content patch for the 8th of April, 2013. My name is TotalBiscuit, with today's gaming news and comments. Coming up on the show, Microsoft apologizes for devs' always-on remarks. And Chief Operating Officer of EA, Peter Moore, says, "We can do better." Well, it's finally happened. I'm leading with a story on a Twitter tirade. I kid ye not. This is what gaming journalism has become, and I am part of that rotting, corrupt cesspit of an industry. Oh, isn't it wonderful? It's kind of not, but this is reasonably important because it has some fairly wide implications and also brings up an interesting point, which unfortunately on these particular shows has to be done sometimes. You may have noticed that I did that whole League of Legends thing to round out the Friday show, and some people ask, well, why do you do that? It's because sometimes there aren't actually all that many interesting stories worth talking about. A lot of what game news actually is new trailer for this, new screenshots for that, and so on and so forth. That's not worthy of discussion. That's basically glorified marketing material for companies. So, hey, Adam Orth, you have been chosen to be the subject of this particular piece, and this is on the subject of a Microsoft creative director by the name of Adam Orth, who is rumored to be called by his pseudonym Sweet Billy, by the way, according to NeoGaf and a post on Reddit that claimed that this guy used to work for Fox Interactive and demanded that people called him by his nickname Sweet Billy, and they were able to find an account from 2007, if you can actually believe that, from Adam Orth with the username Sweet Billy. So hey, I guess that's a thing. Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. I just found it kind of amusing. So this tirade is all about the Xbox 720 or Duranga or whatever the balls they're calling it, and the continued reports and rumors on the subject of always on being required for this particular machine. Now, Adam Orth, as I said, is, or, well, by the looks of it, probably will very soon be, was a creative director at Microsoft, and decided to tweet a few choice words on his account. He stated that sometimes the electricity goes out. I will not purchase a vacuum cleaner. The mobile reception in the area I live in is spotty and unreliable. I will not buy a mobile phone. Sorry for expressing my personal opinion about what I want from the electronic devices I pay for on Twitter. Jesus. So yes, what he apparently believed was incredibly clever was, of course, a ham-fisted analogy towards the notion that complaining about an always-on console and the fact that it might not always work is a really awful thing to do. Apparently that makes you a dumbass. Things started to get a little bit ropey when he started replying to people, like, for instance, a reply to the only Alex W. that said, "Those people should definitely get with the times and get the internet. It's awesome." Right, okay. He also had a little bit of a spat with a game designer at BioWare by the name of Manvia, which he later claimed to be a little bit of friendly banter. However, it was in reference, once again, to this always-on thing, saying, I don't get the drama around having an always-on console. Every device now is always on. That's the world we live in. Hashtag deal with it. And then there was this nice picture of Obama with impact text and a black stroke. Yeah, because everybody knows that that is a great way to get your point across. He went on to claim that electricity goes out too, and why would I want to live in places like Janesville, I think that's Wyoming, or Blacksburg, Virginia, that don't have particularly good internet, and so on and so forth. Anyway, why am I talking about this story? Because it brings up two things. One, it's interesting to see someone from Microsoft, a creative director, going off on a tirade about this particular issue. Generally speaking, you would think that they wouldn't do that unless there is some truth to this particular rumor. I mean, you're defending the notion of an always-on machine in a really weird way as well. Apparently everything's always on. Really? Last time I checked, it wasn't, unless of course you're referring to the notion of the electricity going out. You know what doesn't happen all that often? The electricity going out. You know what does happen a lot? Servers not working correctly. And this is the second and perhaps more important point of this, the discussion that comes from the notion of always on. Let me give you a gamer's perspective. I play quite a lot of games. Some of them have always on requirements. You know what I can tell you as a universal truth? The games with always-on requirements work less often than the games that don't have always-on requirements. This is an irrefutable fact. You want to know why? Because you've added an additional link to the chain that can break. You've added an additional little cog to the gears that can jam. And what's worse is that I'm relying on you guys not to jam your cogs. And let's be honest, you guys jam your bloody cogs. Developers, publishers, software services. I mean, I must be the guy who's probably had the most problems with Steam over the course of 5 or 6 years than anyone else in the world. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. Thankfully, Steam over the last year or so has been a lot better, but every now and again something goes wrong with it. And this is a company, of course, that exists entirely on the notion that their games are for the most part, always on because they make multiplayer games. I mean, how could they not be? And their service relies on you being on the internet to buy and download new games, so it's fairly important that it will actually work, and even they can't do it right. So explain to me again exactly how I can trust you to tie your console to your network and not have it break. Because if my PC was tied to Steam, it would be an unusable experience. If my console was tied to Xbox Live in such a way that I could not play games if your service wasn't working, then I would have the problem. This is not about shoddy electricity. This is not about shoddy internet access. We get it. Stuff breaks. Even though I shouldn't have to worry about those things. You wanna know what happens when I don't have a game that has this always-on requirement? If my power goes out, I could play it on my laptop. If my internet goes out, oh yeah, nothing frickin' happens, because it doesn't matter. I can just keep playing. It's rather nice to have access to those kind of games. Oh, my internet's gone down for a few hours because some jackass just tore through a cable or whatever with a spade. It's fine, I can keep playing my single-player game. You know what happens when I play SimCity? Oh no, wait, I don't play SimCity because the first few weeks and even now is so diabolically bad that I have no interest in actually going back and playing the game anymore. That game is essentially dead to me. You know what happens when I play any other game with an always-on requirement that something goes wrong? Oh, I can't play the game anymore. So it's universally worse. Like, there is no benefit. None. You could say, oh, but the cloud saving. You know what has cloud saving? Steam. You know what doesn't require cloud saving? Steam. You know who doesn't give a damn about cloud saving? Yeah, me. Oh no, my save file is on my laptop. How will I possibly transfer it to my desktop? If only there was some service that we could use as an excuse to impose always-on DRM to provide for that extremely niche demographic of very slight convenience. Yeah, that doesn't actually matter. It's an excuse. Oh, but the social stuff... Look, if I want to be social, I won't be playing video games, okay? Get over yourselves. I could go on about this for a very long time, but the point is, we don't trust you. Yeah, I don't know of a gamer that does. Microsoft in particular. Just bear in mind, this is the company that has been charging for basic online functionality for its console for over half a decade. Whereas its chief competitor in the form of Sony decided to provide a cheaper service that gives you free games and is completely optional. Wow, yeah, there's the competition going on right there. I wonder which one I will choose. Let me weigh my options up here. Do I trust Microsoft not to screw me over with an always-on system? No! I don't trust Valve to do that. I sure as hell don't trust you. It's not the power company or the phone company we distrust, although we probably do. It is you. It is the provider. It is the guys that run the servers. It is the guys responsible for the thing actually working when we want it to work. And you might think, well, that's just a whine. You know, this is what's probably coming through Adam Orth's mind. Oh no, you can't play video games at the time of your choosing. The end of the world is nigh. Yeah, you can call first world problems, you could call Darfur War Orphan on me all you damn well please, but at the end of the day, it's disrespectful to people's time, and a lot of us don't have a lot of it. We're kind of busy. Someone comes home from work, a long day of work, he's working 60, 70, maybe even 80 hours a week, comes home, has to get everything sorted out in the house, and maybe he has half an hour a day to play a few video games. That's his, like, one little bit of alone time outside of the masturbation in the shower. That's what he gets to do. And your service doesn't work. Yeah, he's probably not going to be all that happy. So even the most casual of family men is going to get pissed off by your service. And certainly the most hardcore of gamers is going to get pissed off by your service. So are you essentially saying to me, well, we don't really care about hardcore gamers at all? Well, you know, that was a demographic you probably could have used. Long story short, this guy is a jackass, but this is fairly worrying in the sense that if someone in that position is saying those kind of things on Twitter, then is there any truth to these myriad reports that say the Xbox does require some kind of always-on idea? I mean, there's already rumors that this thing requires always-on connect, and I don't know about you, but I'm not really all that comfortable with having an always-on 3D freaking camera scanning my room all the time. Call me paranoid, but honestly, I don't want that. And not to mention the fact that I hate the idea of the Kinect to begin with. This is the piece of hardware that Microsoft has been focusing on for the past few years and has succeeded in all that time in creating an impressive piece of technology with no good core games on it. None. If I wanted to dance, once again, I would not be playing video games. Oh, God, what a mess. We will see. Supposedly there's going to be some information in April about this, and we'll obviously be hearing more at E3. But I've got to say, if it's PS4 with its no always-on requirement, and Xbox 720 with its always-on requirement, then I think I know which console I'm going to prefer in the next generation. In a somewhat related topic, the Chief Operating Officer of EA by the name of Peter Moore, who is by all accounts a pretty cool guy, put out an open letter on the subject of a variety of things, stating we can do better. But unfortunately, he decided to focus on the Worst Company in America poll. This is something that EA managed to win last year, and as he accurately points out, they were able to win it over the company responsible for the biggest and most damaging oil spill in history, the mortgage crisis, and bank bailouts. And that's where it should have ended. That's the problem. I mean, you already understand by the second paragraph how dumb and completely irrelevant this poll is. Because there is no way in a million years that EA is a worse company than BP. No. It's just not possible. It is not a worse company than the Lehman Brothers. The reason you are getting voted worst company in America in a dumb internet poll is because of dumb internet people. And apparently that's happening again. And that's the real problem with this letter. I would recommend that you go and read the whole letter. It's not very long. The link's in the description below this video. The problem is with the premise of the letter, because it's based on entirely the wrong thing, and as a result, ends up being somewhat defensive. Now, Mr. Moore provides 5 points that he believes caused problems with the public and are causing this particular image. So let's go down the list. 1. Many continue to claim the always-on function in SimCity is a DRM scheme. It is not. People still want to argue about it. We can't be any clearer. It's not, period. That doesn't mean anything. This is the company that is also claiming that SimCity is an MMO. Even if it was called the SimCity MMO, it wouldn't be an MMO anyway, because it doesn't have massively multiplayer bloody anything. The maximum you can have in a region is 16, and I'm pretty sure that high scoreboards don't make a game massively multiplayer. Otherwise, 3/4 of the games in the bloody universe would be that. So, let's not even go there. Is it a DRM scheme? Of course it's a goddamn DRM scheme. It's blatantly obvious that that came to mind at some point. Was it the primary reason? Probably not. They wanted to have this whole regional interaction thing. But where is that offline mode? Oh, it doesn't exist. But the regions are required. No, they're not. It's been proven that they are not required, so don't BS us. Peter Moore, you're supposed to be cool. Quit it. Second claim. Some claim there's no room for Origin as a competitor to Steam. 45 million registered users are proving that wrong. Right, okay, we get it. It's got a lot of registered users, but they registered because of games like Mass Effect and Dead Space that actually required it, or Battlefield 3. This is the thing, you moved all of your games onto a dedicated client, which also happens to be a store. You did the same thing that Valve did back in the day, and people are punishing you for it now, the same way they punished Valve for it back in the day. People will get over it. I don't think Origin's a bad client. I've had less problems with Origin than I've had with Steam. Is it as good as Steam in terms of its functionality? No, it's not. Although it did have some advantages until very recently, you know, like the ability to install games to other drives. I know, crazy, isn't it? It took like 7 years for Valve to actually get that in there. And Steam has its own problems. But the thing about Origin is that you got those users by forcing them in there. So you are as bad as Valve were back in the day when people were complaining about Half-Life requiring Steam. So you're going to have to expect the same kind of reactions because this is a period of transition that people are going to have to get used to. And I don't agree with the argument that anything has no place as a competitor to Steam. There needs to be every possible competitor we can get to make sure that Valve does not rest on its laurels. No, you cannot trust companies. As much as people like to say, oh, you know, Valve is the messiah, they would never do wrong by us, they care about gamers. God, don't be fooled by that. Really, companies only care about their consumers as much as it actually helps them to earn additional revenue, right? As much as you might think Gabe really cares about all of you, no, he doesn't have time for that. He's got running a company to do. It's pretty important. It's definitely a nice image to have, but it doesn't really hold a lot of water. But the principles of that I do agree with. Yeah, I think there is room for Origin, and yes, there are 45 million registered users, although I have to ask how many of those voluntarily signed up for the service. Number 3, some people think that free-to-play games and microtransactions are a pox on gaming. Tens of millions more are playing and loving those games. Yes, but who? Like, this is a reference to something he said at the bottom of this particular page. He was talking about revenue, yeah? Origin is breaking records for revenue and users. The Simpsons Tapped Out and Real Racing 3 are at the top of the mobile charts. What does this mean? This doesn't mean that these are good games, and it doesn't mean that these are good revenue models. They are profitable, sure, and I get it. You need to make money, but if you are going to make money in such a way that involves having ridiculous microtransactions. For those of you who don't know, Real Racing 3 has a load of restrictions on that Real Racing 2 didn't. It's a good racing game, but it is designed to nickel and dime you to high heaven. Then you need to expect that some people are going to complain about it. Yes, core gamers are going to complain about this kind of thing. Games like Real Racing 3 are some of the best, potentially, core games on that platform, right? I mean, we're talking about a platform full of cow clickers and 1-minute stuff, and hell, EA developed some of those, like Simpsons Tapped Out isn't even a game. It's not a game, it's a cow clicker. It's a time waster, there's no strategy in that game whatsoever. Bragging about it topping revenue charts is not a way to get gamers back on your side. That just means you're bragging about swimming in a pool of money. We don't really dig that. Number 4, we've seen mailing lists that direct people to vote for EA because they disagree with the choice of the cover athlete on Madden NFL. Yes, really. And number 5, in the past year, we've received thousands of emails and postcards protesting against EA for allowing players to create lesbian, gay, bi, and transsexual characters in our games. This week, we're seeing posts on conservative websites urging people to protest our LGBT policy by voting EA the worst company in America, and so on and so forth. And yes, I get it, standing up for yourselves is good, and saying we're not caving into that, good. I've never complained about EA's stance towards LGBT. In fact, it is laudable. It's good. But you can't just point to that and say, I'm a great company because we support LGBT. No, we need good games and good consumer practices out of you to believe that you're a good games company. Speaking for myself here for a second, rather than trying to speak for gamers, which I know is a horrible fallacy, I don't care about your social justice stances. Unless you are actively pushing horrible political and social agendas in your games, which I know you're not, then I will not care. Because what I care about when it comes to your company is what you do every day, which is develop and market games. You need to do that well in order for me to think you are a good company. It's cool that you're nice. It's cool that you're progressive in that regard, but it doesn't change the nature of your games or your business model. He goes on to talk about the free game offer for those suffering from SimCity issues, saying 900,000 people took them up on the offer. Well, no crap they did. They took a free game from you? Yeah, they would. I did. I took Need for Speed Most Wanted. Thank you very much. Why not? Here's the deal, right? I don't want free games from you. I want the game that I was buying in the first place, yeah? I wanted SimCity to be a good game. I wanted SimCity to be good beyond the first 10 hours when I was apparently dazzled by it. And I wanted it still to be good when people tore it to pieces and looked underneath the hood and found out that what was beneath it was apparently a complete and total facade. They were looking for a roaring, supercharged engine under the hood of this pretty little car, and what did they find? A cardboard cutout and little more than that. That is what people wanted. They wanted a consumer-friendly game that wasn't blatantly built from the ground up to sell as much DLC to you as humanly possible, that actually had working systems and mechanics within it, and advanced SimCity as a series rather than took it back 10 years. And unfortunately, that is what SimCity turned out to be, a regression of the series once more. Address that. Talk about that. If you wished to perform an act of contrition to gamers and get back in their good books, which for a while EA actually were. You remember the Blitz several years ago now where Activision was the big evil and EA were actually doing legitimately cool things? Yeah, that happened. That did happen, and now suddenly it seems to be the other way around. I guess EA were a little bit upset about not being the top dog when it comes to bad consumer practice anymore. Admit the faults with your products. Figure out a way to fix them, and tell us what you're going to be doing in the future. If we're going to write off SimCity, fine, but tell us. Just tell us that you're saying, right, okay, we screwed up. SimCity is actually not a particularly good game. The systems that we claimed were underneath it don't work the way that we're claiming that they do, and we can't fix them because it's inherent within the engine. Tell me that. or tell me we're going to make efforts to fix them. We're going to sort out the horrendous AI. We're going to sort out the notion that all of the balancing you have to do in cities is in fact a complete facade, and it's entirely possible to make a completely happy residential-only city with 0 services and no interconnecting roads. That is possible. That is doable. This is a city with no power, no sewage, no garbage, and yet the Sims are still happy within it because that's how broken this game is. Tell us that and explain how you're going to avoid it in the future, and then, Peter Moore, then people will take you seriously. Then you will earn people's respect back again. Assuming, of course, that you can follow through with what you say. Please don't get defensive over a stupid internet pool. People are dumb. Just look at my YouTube comment section. Yes, you. Alright, folks, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the content patch, and I'll see you next time.